So I'm ready for the long, tedious, monotonous process of removing rust from everything that's going to be used on the 76. I'm going to do something a little bit different during this video. Is since I'm going to be wearing an N95 mask to keep rust dust out of my lungs while I'm actually doing the work, I'm going to explain what I'm going to do first, and then I'm going to do it without commentary. And I'll also have goggles to keep it out of my eyes. And I'm going to go over basically what I tried on my 74 when I did it, and why I ended up not using it. Wire wheel on a drill. Not very effective, not very fast. So then I decided, well, I've got an angle grinder. What I found with that is very fast could be too fast. You could end up taking off metal that you didn't want to take off, and it was going to have a lot of swirls in it from taking it off unevenly. So what I did with the 74 was I used a needle scaler, which is a pneumatic tool. I don't know whether you can get them electric or not, but it basically uses these needles as pretty much small hammers, and it chips away at the rust. That's what I used for most of the project on the 74, and I'll probably use that some on the 76 because it has the ability to get into some spots that you can't get to with the other tools. So I even bought a small one thinking that it was going to be smaller needles, but it wasn't. It's the same size needle, just fewer of them. But it was a little bit useful in that I could get into spaces where I couldn't get with the bigger one. So with that, I am going to shut off the camera for a little bit while I mask up. What I'm going to try this time is I got wire wheels, and I got two different kind. I got a 3-inch cup wheel and a 4-inch flat wheel to go onto the angle grinder, and those will rotate at a much higher RPM than a drill. So I'm hoping that those are going to work a lot better based on the experience I have with using a wire wheel on a bench and taking a part over to it and using that to take off the rest of the smaller parts. So I'm going to shut off the camera, mask up, and I'm going to do a short demonstration of each of those things. Then, except for the angle grinder, I'm not going to risk taking too much metal off with that. With the grinding wheel, I'm going to wait till I get to the wire wheels on that. Okay, I'm going to move in a little closer. That in the center of the screen was the wire wheel. Center of the screen was the needle scaler. And look at that, how much faster that's going to be. One more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the other wire wheel with the thinner wires. I think I failed to mention that when let me get this. Get this mask off. And I think I failed to mention that whenever I was at the store trying to buy these wire wheels, the knotted wheel on the cup is a much thicker wire than the flat wheel. So that first demonstration was with the knotted wheel. I was talking to the guy at the store, and I was thinking the heavier wire would be better, which it looks like it did a pretty darn good job, and pretty quickly. He thought, based on me telling him I was doing a car frame, that the thinner wire would actually do a better job. So I'm going to open that one up now and put it on the angle grinder and run it for a little bit and see how that one looks. Okay, what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to hit that with the thinner wire wheel first, and then I'm probably going to do about half of this that I did with the cup, with the thicker wires, as a second step, if you will. And the purpose of that is to see whether my process ought to be hit it with the heavy wire first and then come back with the finer wire to finish it up. Okay. That's the half that I just did with the heavier wire wheel. That's the half I did with the finer wire wheel after having hit it with the heavier wire wheel. And this is the part I did with just the finer wire wheel. And I think, based on that quick result, that quick test there, that really the way I want to do this is hit it with the heavy wire wheel first. The cup was actually a little easier to use, so maybe even when I get that, I might go and get myself a knotted heavier wire wheel that's flat and a cup wheel that is the finer wires, because the finer wires did seem to do a nicer final finish than the heavier wheels. So I think probably all four of those are going to be useful. They run about $20 with the tax, probably on average. They're a little bit different, $18, $19 something. So I think that's going to be my approach. Now, after that's done, I've got some treatment to put on it so it doesn't rust again. And I'll shut the camera off, go get that, show you what I have, and be back in a flash. Okay, what I have in terms of the metal treatment is Evaporust and Pickle X20. It says one-step metal prep. The Evaporust is designed for you to fill up a container and put a part in it, leave it soak for 30 minutes. That's not going to work with a frame because I don't have a container that big, and it would take a heck of a lot of Evaporust anyway. Pickle X20, on the other hand, is you apply it with a paintbrush, and it says to, let me get this right, keep the chemical on the surface for about 2 minutes, wipe off the excess with a completely, wipe off the excess chemical completely from the surface with a lint-free cloth. Do not wash it. So pretty much says, you know, wire brush it. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading for the new steel. That's bad. Old coated steel. Remove the excess oil, rust, and scale. Spray or paint Pickle X20 with a paintbrush. After 1 minute of chemical reaction time, brush the surface one more time with the same paintbrush to remove any more loose particles on the surface and form the coating closest to the metal surface. Wipe off any excess chemical on the surface. Do not wash. Allow it to dry completely and paint or prime. So this is what I used on big things, and I have to say, after using the 74, I haven't had that in rain much, but it's 12 years, and I used this Master Coat and Master Coat Top Coat, and it's still in pretty much perfect condition. So I'm going to shut off the camera now because I'm going to start doing the wire brush thing with the angle grinder I'll get some of this other stuff out of my way, and we'll see how much progress we can make. So in about 2 hours or so, I got the top 3 sides of this front cross member, the shock absorber mount places up there, and the whole entire rail down the passenger side. That is not bad. I did not do the underside of it, but that's only one side if you think about it, and it's only, it's a little bit wider than the top side, but it's not as high as the height of the rail. So right now I am going to put some Pickle X20 on it, and I'm going to try to use a foam brush. See how that works. Sometimes these chemicals eat the foam, so it's hard to predict without trying it whether or not it is going to eat the foam or not. But at a quick glance, it doesn't appear it does. Now, I liked the cup brush better. The reason was it was easier to get on more of the surface at the same time. The flat brush was great. Like there's a welded seam here. It was great to get in there. But by and large, the brush, the wire brush, the cup was better. It hit more surface at the same time, and just was easier to control, easier to put it where you wanted it. So basically, this is what I'm going to be doing for the next few minutes, is just putting this Pickle X20 all over the places that I have wire wheeled. And that should protect it. Today is a very hot, humid day. It's actually raining right now. So it's important that I get this coated with this today so I don't flash rust the parts that I've already wire wheeled. But as you can see, it goes on easy. It's a little runny. It's not like paint where it sticks. So you kind of have to watch how much you're putting on and make sure everything gets coated. And that's about it for the Pickle X20. I'm going to shut the camera off and finish doing all that, the rest of the part that I've got wire wheeled, and call it a day. So the Pickle X20 is on, and I wanted to point out that, you know, it looked like that frame was free of rust for the most part, and all that black stuff there is the residual rust that you couldn't see that Pickle X20 took care of. So there's a significant amount, and I thought that was down to pretty much bare metal all the way across. So that's why you need to use something like Pickle X20, or Core 15 has some product they use under theirs. It's basically the same stuff. It takes care of the rust that you can't see, and the paint alone probably wouldn't take care of it. So this stops the rust, and then the paint locks it in so that no oxygen can get to it. So as you can see, some of the rust bled through that Pickle X20. I'm going to try this part by wire wheeling it again, and this side with just more Pickle X20, and see what the difference in the results are. As you can see, I've cleaned up the one side with wire wheel. The other side I haven't. I'm going to Pickle X20 both of them, and we'll see what the difference is. Well, it's probably going to take a day to see whether the results are much different. So I'm going to continue to work on cleaning the other side and then decide what to do with the whole frame after I see the results of this. So the last time you saw the frame, it was down on the jack stands and it was horizontal. And I needed to get to the bottom of it to take the rust off the bottom. But one thing I wanted to point out on that upper piece right there were two spots that I had already put the Pickle X20 on, and I decided I was going to take a section of that and remove the rust again with the grinding wheel with the wire brush. And one I was just going to go over it with the Pickle X20. Well, I neglected to show that, but after doing that, the one where I just put more Pickle X20 on it was just a little bit better than the one where I used the wire wheel on it again. So I decided, and it wasn't materially better than it was with just one coat of Pickle X20. So I just decided that I was just going to leave that, and I am going to use the Master Coat to be my rust preventative coating before I put on a top coat that's going to be black. The Master Coat is silver in color, and you don't really need to coat it, but I think I want the frame to be black, and that black is an extra layer of rust preventer on it. And I bought it from Master Coat as well, and it said that it withstood 90 days immersion in acetone. So that's pretty tough stuff, and I can tell you from my 74 that I did 12 years ago, even though it hasn't been out in the rain a lot, it still looks pretty much like new. So that's what I'm going to do with that. How I got the frame flipped up like that, it was a multi-step process, and with only me doing it, fortunately I have the lift. So I basically raised the lift up some, and I took that strap right there, the tie-down strap, and I hooked it onto the frame on the right-hand side, and then I lowered the lift down, so that took it off the jack stands and tilted it slightly. I put my two bridge jacks there so that it wouldn't slide inward and fall off of the ramps. Well, once I got to the point where that tie-down strap won't work anymore, I got out my engine hoist, attached it to the top of the frame, which is now maybe about 3 or 4 feet above the ramp. And again, by using that and pushing it in, I was able to get the thing almost vertical. And then I put 2 smaller tie-down straps around these posts, attached them to the frame, and unhooked the engine hoist, and then slowly tightened those till I got it pretty much vertical. And from there I was able to just manually set it up against the 2 posts where you see it resting now. So it was a process that probably took me about an hour and a half, but obviously I wanted to do it safely, and I didn't want to drop the frame off of the lift. So it went pretty well. So I have gotten the frame completely derusted what I can. I can't get inside the frame, but I do have some product from Eastwood that is made for going inside the frame, and it has an extension wand on it that you can put it in there. It's a spray can, but you can put it in there. I'll show that whenever I do it, but I'm not ready to do it yet. So I got the frame, I got the cross member for the differential, and up there there's the cross member for the gas tank, and some gas tank straps, and a couple of the pieces that hold the front and rear bumper on. And then over here I have the cover to the gas tank, and the gas tank, they've all been derusted and Pickle X20 applied, so they're waiting for some of the master coat. I have it already, but I'm going to try to get everything I can to the point where I'm ready to put master coat on it, so that when I open it up, that's all I'm going to do for that day, and get pretty much everything I can rust-proofed. You have 2 days to recoat it. You have to wait at least 3 hours, but you can do it up to 2 days later without having to do anything else to it. If you need to, you can either scuff it with sandpaper, or they have a paint thinner that they say you can just wipe it down with that and then recoat it if it's longer than 2 days. So I think next I'm going to look at maybe taking apart the trailing arms, or at least partially taking them apart. I don't know if I'm going to take it all apart, because these are still riveted on and I'd have to drill them out, and there really doesn't appear to be a good reason to do that, because there doesn't appear to be any excess play in them.